The promise you make to yourself is by far the most important promise that you actually make. Today, we're going to be talking about self-contracts and what they are and how it connects to your identity, the identity of who you are or who you believe yourself to be. I'm Mario Leone, and welcome to the Voices of Victory channel. Don't forget to click on the link below to go to my Patreon so we can actually grow together. So what is a contract? We know that it's a written agreement between two parties, whether it be two people or maybe a company and one person. But it is a written agreement, can be verbal, but more often than not, it's written. So a self-contract literally is the commitments that we actually make to ourselves. This is all about keeping your personal agreements. And this all comes down to the standards that you actually set. Now, some people update their actual standards when they get really tired of living the old way, going down the old path. You know, you're in a relationship, you've been in a bunch of bad ones, and now you have to set a new standard as to what you wish to accomplish, what you wish to do. Now, why is the self-contract important? Because it's the contract you have with yourself. It's the agreement you have with yourself. And you have to be able to keep that. You have to keep that agreement. You have to keep that contract. You have to keep that self-contract because it's going to hurt your identity and it's going to send you towards the past. So just understand that. Now, how does it relate to values? Well, values are really crucial. Self-contracts are related to values because it's an expression of our value. What you do and what you say will match. And if what you do and what you say don't match, we call that incongruous behavior. So what it does is it solidifies and turns it into concrete what we believe. So when you take your values, they become solid when you keep your contracts to yourself, and that supports the development of your identity. Got it? So very important how values come into the whole entire thing. Now, what do values look like? Values that have actions are the best. If you're looking to build honesty and you want to develop the value of honesty within yourself, well, when you take care of someone's pet at their house, when you do something for someone else and they hold you accountable and you're honest with yourself and you're honest in the way you do things, then that gives you evidence. So what this means to you is you're translating these values and ideals into actual commitment. And that helps you keep promises to yourself. That's your self-contract. Got it? Very crucial. Now, when it comes to actions, how does it play into it? Well, your self-contract influences your actions. Why? Because it creates obligation. And a lot of people may avoid obligations, but the whole point of a contract is to keep your obligations. But in this case, you're keeping the obligations with yourself. You're not betraying yourself. So if you say that you're going to exercise tomorrow at 9 a.m., that's an obligation that you keep with for yourself. It creates a motivation for you to take action and act. It also guides and steers your behavior in the right direction. And it's going to support you in the way that you make decisions. So understand that when you keep your contracts or self-contracts, that influences your actions, which is awesome. Now, why is this so valuable at the end of the day? Well, it has a connection to how you perceive yourself, your self-perception. When you keep the promises with yourself, that builds trust in who you are, and that develops a strong self-esteem. When you break those promises, it completely destroys and undermines your trust in yourself, in ourselves. It's going to mold your identity and help you to believe that you are trustworthy and, of course, reliable because the words and the actions are actually matching. So it's going to mold your identity and you will become a more disciplined person versus undisciplined. So you see how that plays in is that when you keep your contracts to yourself, what you're doing is you're actually molding your identity. You're making it better. Because your identity is not a fixed thing. It's like gold, and you could shape it and smash it with a hammer and move it around. It's like clay. You could sculpt it. And a lot of people don't realize that. that when the identity can be sculpted in such a way, once you understand it. Now, it's going to mold your identity and get you to believe that you're either capable or incapable. So when you do something and you actually complete it, that actually supports your development of your identity. It tells your brain, I am capable. I did this. I did this. I completed it. But if you don't do it and you break that promise to yourself, it tells your brain that you're incapable. You say, oh, see, I couldn't do it. So we look for the evidence in our reality. And what tends to happen is it can be a difficult thing when you don't keep your promises to who you are. That's what's really important, being able to keep your promises to you. Now, it interacts with the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is literally like the deeper part of your belief system. Think of it as the emotional part of your brain, and it's really connected very deep into who you are, your psyche and identity. When you keep your promises, there's a pattern that gets created, and your subconscious mind keeps track of that, which is awesome. In the background, it's running. It's going in the background like a piece of software. When you have emotional responses, when you actually get excited about the promise that you kept, then that generates a sense of pride in yourself. It generates a sense of, what we call it, not just pride, but it also generates a sense of confidence that you are capable. It shows that capability. But if you don't keep that self-contract, you'll get a sense of shame or you'll feel guilty. And when you're guilty, that will give you evidence of, see, you can't do it. You can't do it. It destroys your confidence because now you have guilt as an evidence rather than the evidence from actually taking the action. Very important. So with the subconscious mind, it's going to condition your expectations going forward. So if you do something and you don't hold that contract, you'll get the evidence of guilt out of that, which will make you feel terrible and it'll hurt your identity. It'll hurt your confidence and self-esteem. But when you actually do well, you keep your commitment, you get some pride out of that, and that becomes the evidence to tell your brain that, yeah, I can do it. I'm capable of doing it. So it influences your future interpretation of your own patterns and behavior. So taking action will provide you with evidence, and that evidence is literally feedback. And you need that feedback because you have to be able to track and record the evidence that you have. That's right. Like I always say, count your wins or your wins don't count. It's going to show that you were able to keep your promises, which reinforces your identity. The broken promises will actually hurt your identity. It'll hurt your self-esteem and your self-confidence. When it comes down to this evidence, we have to consider that evidence is creating a new pattern. And that repeated pattern will strengthen the belief about yourself. Because a lot of our self-belief comes from our ability to deal with adversity, but also how we perceive ourselves. Very important at the end of the day. So what's happening with the self-contract is that it is going to help you update and completely mold your identity. It's going to create a cycle, a pattern that repeats itself. And every time it repeats, it's going to be supporting your identity. It's going to update your identity. Very important. So when you are doing this, you are influenced by your values, you are guided by your actions, which produces evidence. And once you get that evidence, it's reinforcing the identity, make it stronger for you. And your subconscious will interpret that. And it's going to mold your self-perception, how you perceive yourself. And most of all, that evidence is going to feed right back into your identity. And that's all I got to say today. Don't forget to click on the link below to go to my Patreon so we can grow together. Take care. Mario Leone, Voices of Victory channel, signing off.